Hello, this is episode 10 of the Dutch Steamboat Lantern, and I'm glad to see you. This is the last episode where we electrify the lantern and install a glass and check everything out to make sure it works right. So let's start first with the 15-inch lantern. During the electrification process, the first thing we do is put in a two-way toggle switch in the back, and this just makes it easier for people to turn the lantern on and off. Some of the lanterns have, there we go, that's really pretty simple to do. Some of the lanterns have switches on the inside, but that means every time you want to turn it on and off you have to open the door, and this is much simpler. This is a 16 gauge cord that I have, and I'll pull it through, and on here you'll see grommets that I put in place for protecting the cord from having abrasions and so forth. What I do at this point is I put a knot in it so it can't be pulled back through, and it's kind of a tight knot, and I'll pull it back through just to get it out of the way, turn it down. Now the next step is to strip back your wires, and here we go. Now I use butt connectors to put these together, and I have a crimper. So the best way to do this is hold the crimp in place, tighten it up a little bit, and should twist the wire up a little bit so that it fits nice and easy. Stick it all the way in and crimp it. I always check to make sure the crimp holds, and I'll just crimp it one more time so that we have two crimps. Now this is the burner that I'm going to use on this. This is an English duplex burner. It would normally have 2 wicks, and this is the on and off key if you want to turn it on and off from the inside. So you always got to check to make sure it's the right way. I do have another grommet that I put in on the inside, and if you recall, during the early process we put those in we cut the holes way in the beginning because it's pretty difficult to do it at this stage. Double crimp it. Okay, and then the last one is the ground. Gonna crimp that one up. Crimp it up to this one. All right, looks good. Let me grab a bulb just to make sure. And if I go back to the switch and turn it off, boom, it goes off. If I use the side switch, boom, it goes off. So my wiring is done. And usually when I put the glass in to reduce the number of fingerprints, I always put on a pair of cotton gloves. And then I'll grab the piece of glass and got this one in. Actually, it looks pretty good. So let me see if I can show this to you. Unplug the cord. Okay, so here's the inside. And you can see the different tabs holding it in place. One of them broke off when I was closing it, but I told you that I always add extra because that's inevitable. So now I'll move on to the second piece of glass. Okay. All right. So the second piece of glass is in, and the tabs are moved down. Now I take and use tape to hold the wires down on the inside so that they don't float around. And in this case I'm using Gorilla Tape, which works pretty well. Okay, so the next step is to put the mirrors in. And I told you these mirrors are one to cover the wires, which if you look at them are kind of unsightly, and also to reflect the light. So that one's in place. Now the next one's a little bit more complicated. I will screw the burner onto the font, and then I will place the font inside the lantern to be held in place by the retaining ring. I will then take the door frame and install the glass in the frame channels, pushing it tightly to the top, and then I will bend over the retaining tabs to keep this from falling out. Prior to installing the door, I will take and install the chimney on the burner inside the lantern, and then I will take and install the door on the lantern using the hinge pin to connect the parts together. This is the final step in completing the lantern. As you can see, it has got a very nice brilliant shine, and it has this beautiful hand-blown glass and is truly a work of art. The 5 lanterns are from the Dutch Steamboat Lantern build-out series. Now, when I completed these, I took a family poll of 4 people and asked them which ones they liked the best. And everybody has a different design concept and different levels of creativity. 2 people like this one, 1 person like this one, and 1 person like that one. My favorite is pretty much the traditional lantern right here. So let's go over them quickly. First, this lantern is made out of zinc. Zinc is not normally used in this application, but zinc has a pewter look. So that gives you a different look compared to other types of materials. The downside of zinc, it's pretty hard to solder and it's pretty soft. This has what I call a pigtail clasp on it, and if you open it up, on the inside you'll see a number 2 Queen Anne burner, which is pretty typical. Number 2 Queen burner would look like this if it was oil burning, and to electrify them, you cut the guts out and put a socket inside. Now, these lanterns all have switches on the back to turn them on and off. And the glass on the inside is in a chevron pattern like this. And what happens is the light is deflected outward, so you get a nice light dispersion. Also, there's a space behind those to hide all the electrical cords, so you really don't see them. Now, this lantern has seedy marine glass, which is semi-hand blown glass, which has a lot of imperfections in it, but it's pretty consistent in terms of thickness and temper. This lantern was made out of tin plate, and it's been painted with a semi-gloss black paint, and it has a protective grid which is in brass, so you have the really nice brass accent against the black. It has what I call a hairpin clasp to open it, and I call it hairpin because when you first bend it up, it looks like a hairpin. It also has a number 2 Queen Anne burner in the back, and all these lanterns have the reflective glass that's installed in the chevron shape. Now, this one obviously has a handle on it like the next 4, and the handle was kind of a practical requirement for when they were carried around. These lanterns are fairly heavy with all the steel and glass. They probably weigh 5 to 6 pounds a piece. Now, the glass in this is from Benko, which is in West Virginia. This glass is completely handmade. It's blown into bottles and then cut and laid flat. So it really has an unusual texture and shape, and is really quite beautiful glass. The only downside is it's very expensive. Now, this lantern here is 5 inches taller than all the rest of the lanterns. And I did that just to see, what it would look like in terms of comparison and so forth. Again, we have the hairpin opening clasp, but the burner is different. This burner is an English duplex burner, duplex because it has 2 wicks, and it also has been electrified. It's kind of a little different burner configuration. There's a lot of burners out there in the restoration marketplace. So this one is made out of red brass. Red brass is an alloy of 85% copper and 15% zinc, and sometimes referred to as a gilded metal because it really has this golden finish, which I really like. Now, it's been varnished, so it should stay this way for 25 to 40 years. I've had lanterns that I put a coat of varnish on and have lasted that long. So moving over to my favorite lantern is what I'll call a traditional Dutch Steamboat Lantern with a handle and the grids, and it's got the pigtail clasp, and it's got a regular burner on the inside along with a reflective glass. It obviously turns on and off from the back. And this one here also has Benko glass, which again I think is quite beautiful. The last lantern is made out of Turne Tin, and Turne Tin was basically steel with a lead coating on it, but because lead is an environmental hazard now, the new Turne Tin is 304 stainless with a tin covering. Obviously, it's very, very durable. It doesn't have a shiny patina. It's a little bit more challenging to work. This also has a number 2 Queen Anne burner, which is the same as the number 2 Eagle burner. They're pretty much the same collar, and they're pretty much the same font or chimney size. This again has a seedy marine glass on it. So that pretty much completes the Dutch Steamboat series. I hope you've enjoyed it from the beginning to the end, and we'll be doing more colonial coppersmithing in the future, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.